What's up guys, Onmaths here, and today we're looking at Pythagoras' theorem, and we're going to start off with a nice AQA question, and it's nice because they actually give you the answer, and all you got to do is show the working out. So it's nice and easy to identify that we need to use Pythagoras because this topic of this video is called Pythagoras' theorem. But if you're in an exam, how do you know you're going to need Pythagoras? Well, you first of all need a right angle triangle, which we have. You also need two lengths that you know and one length that you're finding out. As soon as there's an angle involved, so you've got one length, an angle, and you're finding another length, as soon as there's any angles involved, then it's probably going to be trigonometry that you're going to need to answer the question. Pythagoras is generally speaking grade 4 and trigonometry is generally speaking grade 5, so maybe you can kind of get a feel for it where it is on the paper, but that's quite misleading because there's some Pythagoras questions that come up much later and occasionally some trigonometry questions that come up earlier. So just try and remember that when it's all to do with lengths in a right angled triangle, it's probably going to be Pythagoras. What is Pythagoras' theorem? Dead simple formula. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. How simple is that? Now, it doesn't matter which one you label A and B, but A and B need to be the ones next to the right angle. The most important thing is that C is the one opposite the right angle. What's that length called? That length is called the hypotenuse. So C must be the hypotenuse. Now, something else about the hypotenuse, it's the longest side. So you can actually check your answer here, because if I ended up with an answer of, 5.4, we know that's not the right answer. First of all, because it tells us it's 12, but secondly, because it has to be the longest side, so it has to be bigger than 9.6 centimeters. Right, waffling over, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my lines in, either side of the equal sign. I do that with every single question. Next, I'm going to substitute in the values I know. Now, it doesn't matter which way around A and B are, so you could have labelled the bottom one A and B on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to keep it the way I've written it in the question, but just know that if you've written 9.6 squared plus 7.2 squared, then that's equally right and you'll get the same answer. Okay, so I'm going to get my calculator out and work this out. So what I'm going to do is just type the whole thing in my calculator. So I'm going to type in 7.2 squared plus 9.6 squared, and I get the answer of 144 equals c squared. Now the problem is I want c on its own. Okay, we need c equals. So what I'm going to do is just square root both sides, because square root is the opposite of the squared there. So that'll undo it. So we're going to do square root of 144 equals c, and square root of 144, you can do it on the calculator, or you probably just know it's 12. And so let's scroll down, and there we are. I'm just going to write down c equals 12 just to be absolutely clear. With an equal sign, you can just swap the left and the right, and that's absolutely fine. And that's how you do it. Next up is the OCR question. Now, we don't have the comfort in this question to know the answer, but that's fine because we know how to work it out. So again, it's going to be Pythagoras because it's only involving lengths. There's two lengths that we know, there's one that we're trying to find out, and it's a right angle triangle. So we're just going to start again with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so a and b, it doesn't matter which way around you put them, and then c is going to be opposite the right angle. It's going to be on a hypotenuse. So let's put our lines in as well. Make sure we're all organised. And let's just try and do better lines. There we go. Right. So A is going to be 8.4. Again, it doesn't matter which way around you do this. B is going to be x. And C is going to be 30. Okay, now we've got, we want to get x on its own. So what we've got here is this bit here. So what I'm going to do is just take away the 8.4 squared from both sides. Now I could do 8.4 squared in the calculator, but that might give me a horrible number. So I'm just going to leave the squared there and just do it later. So we've got 30 squared, take away 8.4 squared. Okay, I'm actually going to work that out now because it seems like a good time. So we're not going to do anything to both sides. I'm just going to get my calculator and do 30 squared, take away 8.4 squared. And as predicted, it's a horrible number. It's 29.44. And I'm just going to extend the lines a little bit, give me a bit more room. Okay, so again, we've got x squared, and so we want just x on its own, so square root both sides. We get x equals, and so I'm just going to type in, the answer's still on the calculator, so what I can do is just press square root button, and then the answer button. And on the Casio ones, it says, I think, ANS at the bottom right of the calculator, just next to the equal sign. If you've got a different calculator, just try and find out where your answer button is, because it's really useful for keeping precision. And so it says x equals 28.8. Now the centimetres are actually next to the x, so we don't need to put centimetres in our answer, but if you choose to, then I'm sure you don't lose any marks for it. And so let's just put that into our answer field here, so 28.8. Now I say this every time for the benefit of Edexcel and AQA people. It says paper 1 for OCR, paper 2 is the non-calculator, so you were allowed a calculator for this question. Next on to the Edexcel question. Now I thought I'd step this up a notch. This is actually the very last question on paper 2 2018 June paper, on the foundation paper. So theoretically this is really difficult, but actually it's just doing what you know. So there's two things you need to know: Pythagoras obviously, but also how to work out the volume of a prism. So the volume of a prism is going to be the area of cross section. I'm just going to say area of cross. So it's the area of the shape facing you times the length. So what that means on our diagram is we need to work out this area here. This is the cross section. So those of you who are on it will know that's a triangle. And then we need to times it by the length, which is this one. So we need to times it by how 3D it is. So that's the length there. Okay. But we can't actually work out the area of that triangle. Now some of you might think, oh, is the area not just half times 7.2 times 8.4? No. Area of a triangle, let's pick a different colour. So area of the cross section, which is a triangle, is half times base times height. Now, the reason we use the words base and height is there's actually a relationship between them. The base and the height have to touch each other at 90 degrees. Now, looking at the diagram, 7.2 and 8.4 do not touch at 90 degrees. It's kind of this acute angle here, so they're not perpendicular. This here is the base, because that touches the height at 90 degrees. So that will be the height there. So we don't actually know the base, but this is a Pythagoras tutorial, so we would probably guess that we need to use Pythagoras for it. And indeed we would be right. So I'm going to write down our a squared plus b squared equals c squared that we've become accustomed to. Now we've got to figure out what a, b and c are. So a and b are the ones next to the right angle, so a and b coincidentally is b for base and b in the Pythagoras, and then c is the one opposite the right angle. Okay, so let's get our lines in. I'm just going to push this down just in case we need a bit of extra space. Just don't know whether we need that much, but always best to be safe. So we've picked a as 7.2, and b, we can just leave that as b because we're using b for base, and c is 8.4. So again, we're going to take away that 7.2 squared from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 8.4 squared, take away 7.2 squared. And let's actually work this out. So 8.4 squared, take away 7.2 squared. And that equals 18.72. Then we're going to square root both sides to get b on its own. So b, and I'm just going to press square root answer. And, oh, it's a horrible number, which you often get with these. So I'm going to write down as much precision as I can, or as I can be bothered to do. The reason why you want to keep this as precise as you can is you don't want to round it yet, because if we round it now, it will change our answer maybe quite significantly. So I'm going to keep the precision up. Right, so next we want to use this formula here for the area of the triangle. I'm just going to move it down slightly just so I've got a bit more room for it. So we're going to do half times the base, which is that 4.32 blah blah, times the height, which is 7.2. So I've still got the 4.32 blah 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 in my calculator. So what I'm going to type in now is times 0.5, because that's a half, times 7.2. Press equals, and that gives me the answer of 15.57598151 blah blah blah. Okay, and I should re-put the ellipses there just to show that I've kept the precision, I've not rounded it. So that's the area of the triangle, the area of the cross section. So we now need to work out the volume, which is what this question ultimately asks. And let's see whether I can actually grab everything and move it down. I've lost a V. Always losing a V. There we go, let's put that back. Right. So, area of the cross section, which we've just worked out, is 15.57 blah blah blah, and times by the length. Now the length is how 3D the shape is, which is 18 centimeters. So again, I've still got that 15.57 blah 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 on my calculator, and I'm just going to type in times 18. And so now the calculator is telling me that's 280.36766 blah blah blah. The question asks it to three significant figures. So three significant figures will cut the number there. And so all the numbers to the right will disappear. And so the 3 doesn't push that 0 up to a 1. So it's just going to be 280. So it's going to be 280 centimeters cubed. Now I know when I do these types of questions, some of you are sitting going, wow, that looks way too complicated for me. But if you looked at what I did, I just need to know the volume of a prism, which is not a high grade thing. If you don't know that, you need to revise it now. The area of a triangle, again, another low grade thing to know. And Pythagoras, and just identifying that you needed Pythagoras for that situation. So you just need to figure out, right, I've got a right angle triangle, and I've got two lengths, and I need to find the third length. Right, I'll need Pythagoras. And just write down a squared plus b squared equals c squared, get that down, and then just try and work from there. Again, with these types of questions, you're getting marks all the way through. So even if you can only do the first couple of steps, you're still going to get marks for it. So just keep trying to figure out, right, what do I need to do for this next step, or what can I do in this question? And even if you don't get a full answer, you'll get a whole load of marks for it. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you did, please click like. If you want to see more from us, we release videos every single weekday, Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So just click subscribe and the bell icon to make sure you're up to date. If you want to see more from us, we have a website, onmaths.com, which is packed full of free maths resources to help you. If you click the link that appears at the top of the video now, it will take you straight there. Keep your comments coming in, because summer school will finish at some point when we've finished going through all the topics, and so we're really interested in figuring out what you guys want us to make after we finish summer school. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.